Pattern number 2 has been picked for So Lucky Jar 2025. So if you're curious to see what pattern I picked and how it comes together, then please keep watching today's video. Hey beloveds, welcome to Unsocial. In case you don't know, I'm your girl Kris, and this is my little corner on the internet where it's completely cool to obsess over sewing. For today's video, I am going to be talking about the second pick from my So Lucky Jar 2025. Now, if you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, So Lucky Jar is a challenge that was designed and is being run by my friend Diana of 26 by Diana over on Instagram. The long and short of the challenge is to go ahead and select some patterns from your pattern stash, put them in the jar, and then pick one pattern at your convenience and sew it up. Now, I have decided to pick 12 patterns throughout the year of 2025, even though I have put 24 patterns in my jar. Now, if you want to see how I managed to arrive at my pattern picks and to see how I got my husband and my daughter involved, then you might want to go and check out this video right here. Now, for my first pattern pick, I had chosen Simplicity 8014, and of course, there is a full review already here on the channel. For my second pattern pick, I was really quite nervous, and that is because, as I said, both hubby and my daughter were involved. Now, between them both, they put in 7 patterns in my So Lucky Jar. I was not amused. Now, let me explain. I thought it would have been a really fun and cool twist to allow my husband and my daughter to choose some patterns from my pattern stash. It just so happened, you guys, that they chose patterns that I definitely would not have picked for the most part. So every time I pull up my So Lucky Jar and it's time to pick a pattern, your girl is sweating bullets because I really hope the sewing gods are kind to me and I don't have to end up picking any of their patterns. That being said, I have already picked one of my husband's patterns, and it was the Deer and Doe Melilot shirt. Now, out of all the patterns that he contributed to my So Lucky Jar, this one probably was the only one I really wanted to sew up. Now, I made the Deer and Doe Melilot way back, I want to say like 2019 or 2020, as part of a Minerva kit. Now, I am a Minerva ambassador, which means if you use my Minerva code, you can save yourself 10% off patterns, notions, kits, every single thing on the Minerva store. So if you're going to go ahead and shop, why not just support your girl simultaneously? So again, use my code and save yourself 10% off on the Minerva website. Now, truth be told, even before I had the kit, I did purchase the Deer and Doe Melilot, but I did only have it in the PDF copy. For some reason though, I hadn't sewn it up. So when I saw the Minerva kit go live, I was like, yes, this is an opportunity for me to get the printed pattern, and your girl jumped right in. Now, ever since I made up the first version of the Melilot, I really have intended to sew it again. But as you know, you guys, lots of shiny patterns kept popping up onto the scene, and the Melilot just kept getting pushed back further and further on my wanting to sew list. Finally, however, I'm able to sew it up, and that is all thanks to my husband. Should I even be saying that? Like, I don't want to toot his horn too much, and he might just be watching this video, but let's keep it a secret between the two of us. I actually like this pattern pick, and it's probably the only one that he chose that I'm really excited about. So I was happy when I pulled my pattern and it landed on the Deer and Doe Melilot. Now, Deer and Doe Pattern Company no longer exists, but it was bought out by Closet Core. So if you're interested in the pattern, you can head on over to the Closet Core website and you can pick yourself up the Melilot. Now, when I purchased the Melilot, it was drafted, I think, for a C cup. From what I recall, when I had been looking for the cup sizes that the different brands had drafted for, Deer and Doe was one of the very few brands that drafted for a C cup. Now, I have gone ahead and chosen a size 46 of the pattern, which happens to be the largest size in the envelope that I have. Now, I'm really hoping that this pattern has an extended sizing because it's a really good pattern. Now, I consider myself to be a mid-size sewist, and as I said, I've chosen the largest size in my pattern envelope. I would hate to believe that the size 46, which is the largest size, is the maximum size. I don't want to say that that's the case. Fingers crossed, it does have extended sizing. Now, the first time I sewed up this pattern, I had traced it off in the size 46 and I had made some pattern adjustments. So this time, instead of going back and retracing the pattern, I am just going to use the very same pattern pieces that I have already prepped. So yay for me for already having this pattern prepped and ready to cut out. Now, in terms of the fabric, I've already cut out my pattern pieces, but let me grab the remnant and show you what it looks like. All right, so this is the fabric that I have chosen for my Deer and Doe Melilot. Now, I actually got this fabric as a Christmas gift for December 2024, and I knew I wanted to make a button-down shirt with it. Now, initially, I thought I was going to make Simplicity, I think it is 9701, which is an oversized, very loose-fitting button-down shirt. But after I went ahead and pulled the Melilot, I thought this fabric would be perfect. Now, I only had 2 yards of this fabric. And as I've said, I've already cut out all of my pattern pieces. And I have maybe about 3/4 of a yard of fabric left over. Fingers crossed, I'm able to squeeze out maybe the Helen's Closet Ashton, or maybe even the Mimi G camisole from her book, Make It Simple, using this fabric remnant. Now, as I said, everything is ready and raring to go. So let's get started with the sewing. You guys, come here. Closer, closer, because your girl has a confession. So I have been sewing for the last 30 or so minutes, and this is all I've gotten done. And by this, I mean I have put the front placket in and have started top stitching it down my center front. That's it. That's as productive as I have been. Truth be told, you guys, I didn't go back and double check the original pattern pieces. And so I was following along with the instructions, which I almost never do, and I can kick myself up the butt for actually attempting to follow the instructions this time. And I started constructing the front placket as if it had a hidden placket. After I had pressed it and had top stitched it down into place, I kept thinking, this doesn't make any sense because the excess fabric that I have would not have been enough to form a placket and to conceal my raw edges. So back to the instructions I went, only to realize that this pattern actually has a hidden placket on one side of the front bodice and a regular placket on the opposite side. Why hadn't I made this note? Or maybe I had made this note in one of my pattern books from way back when, but of course, I don't know where that is right now, and I didn't even bother to check. Since discovering that, I had to go in with good old seam ripper and take out all of the stitches. I mean, what is sewing without a seam ripper? I just don't know, because somehow I almost always manage to make a mistake. Now, if you are a beginner sewist and you are prone to making sewing mistakes, know that you are not alone. It really is just a part of sewing. I have been sewing for almost 7 years and your girl is still making simple mistakes. What should have been a very simple fold over placket, you turn it over one time, press it, turn it on itself again, press it, top stitch it, done. That should have taken me maybe 10, 15 minutes maximum, has taken me well over half an hour. Nonetheless, you guys, we finally have a completed placket. Now, I did mention that I sewed the placket almost to the bottom, and this is because this pattern asks you to completely close up your placket and then to do the hem. Now, I am not a fan of doing that for my hems. So what I'm going to do eventually is I'm going to turn the placket right sides together, like so, stitch it across the hem and then finish the hemline and then go back in and finish off the remainder of the placket. You guys, what should have taken me 10 minutes has become a half-hour job. Now, I'm not sure how much sewing time I'm going to have left for today, but I'm going to go back and keep working, and then I'll be back to check in with you guys sometime soon. All right, guys, so I have been sewing for about an hour and a half, and this is where I've gotten with my shirt. So I've gone ahead and put my darts in. Wait, I'm showing you the back. I've gone ahead and put the darts in on my bodice front pieces. I have French seamed my shoulder seams, and I have finished my hemline as well as the placket that I showed you guys earlier. Now, unfortunately, my sewing time is done for today, so I am going to have to put my project on hold. I have some adulting to do, but then hopefully I can pick her back up tomorrow. But like, how cute is this gonna be as a shirt? It's going to be bright, fun, bold, and funky. Just how I like it. So let me say goodnight for now, and I'll catch you hopefully tomorrow. Hey lovies, do you think I'm cute? It is late and I'm about to squeeze in maybe about 30 minutes of sewing time. And I figured I should report to you on the progress. Now, I almost didn't make an appearance here on the channel because, as you can see, I am in my rollers and in my pajamas. But we're friends now, right? So that means I can be comfortable around you guys, right? Well, I sure as hell hope so because tonight you are getting roller set Chrissy. No, I don't want to spend too much time talking to you because I actually want to go ahead and sew. The plan tonight is to sew the collar, maybe even, fingers crossed, I might be able to get the collar stand attached to my shirt. But let me run ahead and see how much I can get done. And then when sewing time is up, I shall come back and report to you on what I did. So, toodles! All right, you guys, I was able to squeeze in 55 minutes of sewing time. It means I'm a little bit later to bed than I would have liked because tomorrow is a work day, but sometimes we have to make these sacrifices in order to sew. Now, with those 55 minutes, I was able to go ahead and put my collar on my shirt. I constructed the collar from scratch and then attached it to my shirt. And I also went ahead and did the first pass of my side seams. Now, the side seams are finished using French seams. Now, in case you don't know, a French seam is a seam that is sewn twice. The first pass is sewn with the fabric pieces wrong side together. So I sewed mine using a 1/4 inch seam allowance because the total seam allowance for this pattern is 5/8 of an inch. So once I had done my initial line of stitching, I have gone in and just trimmed the seam using my pinking shears. And the next step will be to press my seam to one side and then turn the fabric so it is right sides together and sew the seam a second time using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And that is because 3/8 of an inch plus 1/4 inch equals the 5/8 of an inch total seam allowance. Now I am going to stop here for tonight, but I'm thinking maybe I should throw it on over me to give you guys an idea of what this is going to look like. I think this is going to be so cute. Now, I have not cut out the sleeves because I thought I wanted to do the shorter sleeve. I do have 3/4 of a yard of fabric left back, and so I do have enough, technically speaking, to do the long sleeves if I so choose. The question is, will I actually do the longer sleeves? I'm not so sure yet, you guys. I'm thinking that the long sleeves in this fabric is going to be a little bit much, but I might actually change my mind. As I said, I'm going to call it quits for the night. I will hopefully resume tomorrow after work, fingers crossed. And that will give me a little bit more time to think about whether or not I actually want to go ahead and add the long sleeve with the cuff. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, booze, I'm back. Truth be told, it has been a couple of days since I have sewn. I have chosen rest, you guys. This week, I've just been feeling tired, like really, really tired. So every day I have come home from work and hopped into my bed. Chilled with a little Chicago PD, a little bit of Law and Order. But today, I am going to sew. I'm not really feeling like I want to sew. Like I want to sew, but I don't want to sew. It's hard to explain. Like in my mind, I want to go to my machine, but my body is crying out, girl, go lay your ass down. Anyways, today I am ignoring body and going with mind because I need to finish my Melilot. You see, I got it right, you guys, Melilot. So all the time I was calling this pattern Melilot. Ugh. Apparently it's Melilot. Fancy. So I'm going to finish it. No, I'm not going to finish it. I'm going to work on her today. And I'm not going to finish it because I'm almost done. Well, I was almost done. And now I've decided I want to do long sleeves. So I initially cut out the sleeve like cuff part. And that was the last step I had to do to this shirt before moving on to buttonholes and buttons. But I have now decided that I actually want to do the long sleeve, and I have used up more of my leftover fabric to cut out the sleeve pieces, and I still have maybe like a quarter yard or maybe, what is it, 3/8 of a yard? Whatever. I still have a piece of fabric left over. I know I won't be able to get a garment out of it. I probably can get a scrunchie or a couple of scrunchies to be fair, or a headband, or maybe even, I wonder if I have enough to do like a scarf, like for my head. I don't know. I have a piece of fabric left over. I'm not sure what it's going to become. It's just going to get added for the moment to the remnant stash that is growing and growing and growing. Anyways, I am going to head on over to my cutting table and then to my machine, and let me see how much of these sleeves I can bang out tonight before I call it quits. So I'll check back in with you guys a little bit later. All right, babes, I'm back and I have completed sleeves. I did French seam the sleeves as well. I'm not sure if you can see it. This is the seam right here. And the sleeve was actually meant to go in to the shirt while it was flat, so that you can sew one fell swoop from the hem of the shirt right to the cuff of the sleeve. But since I was going to do the sleeve cuffs, like the shorter version instead of the long sleeves, I already did my side seams. And so I just went ahead and did the French seams on this. It has toe plackets. I'm pretty proud of my toe plackets, you guys. It's not perfect by any means, but it is pretty good. I've already put my pleats in, and so I'm going to introduce my sleeve into my shirt, and then I can go ahead and do the cuffs. Now, I can't promise I'm going to do that tonight. I'm going to take a quick break now. I'm hungry and I need to shower. But if I continue work tonight, then I'll come back and show you how much progress I managed to make. So we will see, but for now, deuces. Hey boos, I'm back. So a couple of days have passed by yet again, but I'm finally picking back up my Melilot shirt, and it's time for me to work on the cuffs. So I've gone ahead and I've pinned them together. I do need to sew around it, trim it down, flip it out, and attach these to the sleeves of the actual shirt. So that's what I'm going to work on now. Once I've done the cuffs, then we'll almost be done. After the cuffs, I still have to do the buttonholes and buttons, but now I need to go look through my stash to see if I have any appropriate buttons. Buttons are always like my nemesis, you guys. Not because I have a problem doing buttons and buttonholes, but because I never seem to have the right buttons in my stash for my projects. Like, how does that even happen? Anyways, let me get to sewing and I'll come back in and check up with you guys when I'm done. All right, guys, we have a shirt. So I'm just holding it together because I like to go and mark where my apex is. Now, your apex is like the fullest part of your bust, and that is typically what will cause any gaping in a shirt. So I've gone ahead and just put a tiny dot where my apex is, like in line with my apex. And I need to go and figure out the buttons and the buttonhole situation. But this is what she looks like. And I am pretty pleased with her. I did lengthen the sleeve, but I still think it's a little bit too short. I should have lengthened it 2 inches instead of 1 inch. But I mean, when my hand is down, it hits me right at my wrist. But once I start like moving my arm, you can see how it kind of climbs up my hand, and I don't necessarily love that. So next time I make this shirt, if I make the long sleeve, then I'll go ahead and lengthen it by an additional inch. As I said, I've lengthened it 1 inch already, but it is still too short for my preference. It almost makes me feel like I should have gone ahead and done the short version, but we are here. and it's too late. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find some buttons to complete my shirt. And the next time you see it, it should be finito. All right, you guys, I am back and my Deer and Doe Melilot is complete. Now, please forgive me if I sound raspy in this section of today's video. Your girl had gone ahead and caught another cold. Seriously, I am sick and tired of being sick. Having young kids, you guys, means they tend to pick up all sorts of things. And in my case, my kids are always in my bed, they're always under me, and every single thing that they catch, they pass on to me. I'm going to have to do something about that for 2025 because I have had enough. Thankfully, I was able to finish my Melilot shirt, and I have some thoughts, you guys, but let me just step back and show you guys what it looks like. It's not styled in any way. I've just pulled it on over my lounge shorts, so bear that in mind. But I'm hoping that I can get some photographs so that by the time that this video goes live, you will have some styled photographs inserted in this video. We will see. Do not hold me to that this time. Anyways, this is the completed Melilot. You can see that it has a sort of high-low effect, so it's lower in the back and a little bit shorter in the front. It is a button-down shirt, obviously. I ended up adding the long sleeves even though I had initially cut out the sleeve band. I just had a piece of fabric left back and I figured, why not just use it up and make up the long sleeves instead of doing the sleeve band? And that would mean that I wouldn't have an awkward piece of fabric left back in my stash. Now, I'm really happy that I did the long sleeves, but I am annoyed about the sleeve length. Now, I did go ahead and add an additional 1 inch in length to the sleeves. Obviously, your girl needed to add 2 inches in length. That would have meant that my sleeves would have come right down to the end of my wrist instead of stopping like bracelet length. Now, I know there's nothing wrong with rocking a bracelet length sleeve, but my preference is to have a full sleeve that goes right the way down to the end of my wrist. I'm not sure how much it's going to bother me, but we will see over time whether I gravitate to wearing the shirt or whether I sort of push it to the side just because of the sleeve length. Now, other than the sleeves, I'm really happy with the construction of this shirt. I think it turned out bold and bright and funky. This pattern really gives way quite nicely, in my opinion, to a button-down shirt. I sort of feel like a Cuban drug dealer. I'm joking, you guys. I'm joking. But you know when you wear those bright, funky, like tropical print shirts, you see them in the movies sometimes, and you always see some big guys wearing them with cigars in their mouths, and I feel like the female version of that in this shirt, and I'm here for it. I absolutely love that. Oh my gosh. Oh Lord. But I really like my Melilot shirt. Now, since I'm talking about how much I like it, I may as well go ahead and do the rating right here. If I were to rate this shirt, I would give this one an 8.5 out of 10. And it really is because of the sleeve length, you guys. This, like I could kick myself. And I did have a little bit more fabric left over, which means I could have easily lengthened this sleeve by an additional inch, and I would have been able to do that with no problems. If the sleeve length had been down to my wrist, this shirt would have been perfect. It's really well constructed. I went ahead and did French seams on all of the visible seams, so the inside is impeccable. I really took my time doing my collar, and I think it turned out really nicely. Now, this collar does not have like a square edge. It has more like a rounded edge. Sorry, I was looking at the viewfinder because I'm trying to see the collar myself. So it has like a rounded edge. I went ahead and top stitched it. I put it in with my collar stand using the edge stitching method. Usually I kind of cop out from this method and go ahead and slip stitch my collars in place, but I have been getting a little bit more comfortable with edge stitching my collar stands down, and I'm really pleased with how this one turned out. It really is very well done. Now, as I've said previously, I have one other version of the Melilot in my closet. That one does get quite a bit of wear. That one was made, I think, using like a viscose fabric. So it's really, really soft and a lot more drapey than this fabric is. Now, because the Melilot has like a grown-on sleeve situation, you can expect to get a little bunching at the underarm, but not necessarily too much. And because of the fabric that I chose, you can see it, but it's not like in your face. And that is not going to create an issue for me. I know it's not a fitting problem. It's just the nature of having a grown-on type sleeve. Now, I feel like the Deer and Doe Melilot is an easy to construct shirt, even though I went ahead and made a big boo-boo right in the beginning when I was working on the placket, because I had forgotten that I had not traced off the hidden placket side of the shirt. Now, you can go ahead and make up this shirt with a hidden button placket. I didn't do that in my first version. I guess I was lazy back then. And because I had already prepped the pattern pieces for this go around, I went ahead and did the exact same thing that I did for version number 1. Maybe if I make this shirt sometime in the future, maybe I might consider doing the hidden button placket. I think maybe a hidden button placket kind of elevates your shirt a little bit, but in my opinion, it's not necessary, and I'm perfectly fine with having visible buttons down the center front of my Melilot. So you guys, that was pick number 2 for So Lucky Jar 2025. So far, I have ended up with 2 button downs. The first one was a button down in the form of a dress, and this pick was a button down in the form of a shirt. Now, pick number 1 was a pattern that I put in the jar. Pick number 2 was a pattern that hubby put in the jar. So I am really curious to see what's going to end up happening for pick number 3. I have not picked any of the patterns that my daughter has put in the jar just yet. And obviously there are tons more patterns that I have put in the jar. And I'm really hoping that pick number 3 is something that I put in the jar and that I really, really want to sew. So if you are curious to see what happens for pick number 3, then make sure you are subscribed to the channel. That video will drop sometime within the next week or so, and you really won't want to miss it. It's always so much fun picking from the So Lucky Jar 2025, and I really have to say a special shout out to my girl Diana for coming up with such an amazing challenge. Now, if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to go ahead and give me a thumbs up. It really does help in terms of the algorithm. I know sometimes we're watching YouTube videos. I do it all the time, and I forget to do the thumbs up, and I have to go back and do the thumbs up. So I'm really appealing to you guys. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you think of my finished Deer and Doe Melilot shirt. Do you have this one in your stash? Would you consider buying it? Have you made it up? Let's carry on the conversation down below in the comment section. Again, if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, then please do consider subscribing on your way out. Until next time, you guys, stay calm, stay cool, stay safe, and absolutely keep sewing.